If you ever hear the sound of legs dragging in the dark, it's not a normal spider. Believe me, I know. I saw it, and since that night, nothing in my life has ever been the same. I was never superstitious. I grew up in a small town, surrounded by fields and woods, where stories of witches and curses were nothing more than tales to scare kids. But there was one story that always felt different. The old folks used to whisper about the curse of the spider hell, a monster that, according to them, lived beneath the earth, waiting for someone foolish enough to wake it up. No one agreed on what it really was, a demon, a creature, or something far worse, but they all said the same thing. When it comes to claim a soul. I never believed it, not until it happened to me. It was late autumn. The ground was damp, the air heavy with the rot of fallen leaves. I had gone exploring with a couple of friends in an abandoned mine just outside town. It wasn't anything special, just long tunnels, damp walls, graffiti everywhere. But there was one place no one ever wanted to go, a corridor sealed off with rotting wooden boards, strange red symbols painted across them. One of my friends said it was part of the old legend, that it was some kind of seal meant to keep the spider trapped inside. I laughed at him, and with a rusty pipe, I broke the boards apart. The air that rushed out was suffocating, thick, metallic, and acidic, burning the back of my throat. My friends bolted in panic, leaving me alone. I decided to keep going. The tunnel was narrow. My footsteps echoed against the stone, and with every step, the silence grew heavier, pressing down on me like a weight. That's when I heard it. At first faint, a clicking sound, like claws scraping against rock. Then something else, breathing. I froze. My flashlight trembled in my hand, its weak beam barely cutting through the shadows. And then I saw them. Two glowing points, yellowish, eyes. I can't even explain it properly. It was tall, hunched, its torso vaguely human but cracked, as if fire glowed beneath its skin. From its back jutted long, skeletal limbs, spider legs, scraping against the stone with a sharp, sickening click. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The air grew thicker, as if the tunnel itself was closing in around me. The thing opened its mouth, and rows of jagged teeth gleamed in the dim light. And then it spoke. Not with human words. It was guttural, rasping, like every sound was tearing the air apart. But somehow, I understood it. You set me free. That was the moment I realized I had made a mistake I could never undo. I stumbled backward, my flashlight slipping from my hand and rolling across the dirt. Its beam swung wildly, cutting brief flashes of the creature's skin, those burning cracks across its chest, the glint of its impossible teeth. The sound it made when it moved, it still rings in my ears. Click, click, drag, click. Each limb slammed into the stone with deliberate rhythm, and I swear the tunnel vibrated with the weight of it. I should have run, but every instinct in me was at war. Some part of me wanted to believe this was just a nightmare, a hallucination from the foul air in that tunnel. But then it exhaled, and the smell of it hit me, rancid, like burning meat soaked in iron. My stomach twisted, and bile rose in my throat. It didn't lunge at me, it didn't strike. It only stood there, blocking the way back, its glowing eyes locked on me. And then it smiled, not with its mouth, with its entire body. The cracks along its chest widened, glowing brighter, like molten veins spreading through its flesh. The sound that came out was half a laugh, half a hiss, echoing so deeply I felt it in my bones. I turned and ran deeper into the mine. Stupid, I know, but the thought of running past it was unbearable. My footsteps splashed in shallow puddles, the tunnel narrowing as jagged rocks scraped my shoulders. Behind me, the sound followed. Click, click, drag. Always at the same distance, never closer, never farther, like it was playing with me. At some point, I stopped hearing only footsteps. I heard whispers, dozens of them, layered over each other, voices that weren't human. Some sounded like children, others like old men, all of them speaking at once. The words didn't make sense, yet somehow they carried a meaning. Promises of suffering, warnings of hunger, prayers begging me to stop running. I collapsed against a wall, panting, the flashlight shaking in my hand. Its beam landed on the rock face ahead of me. That's when I saw them. Faces. Dozens of them, carved or maybe grown into the stone. Their eyes were shut tight, mouths twisted in screams. I reached out to touch one, and the stone was warm. The lips were soft, and then its eyes snapped open. I screamed and staggered back as one of the stone faces began to move, its mouth opening in a silent wail. The others followed. The entire wall came alive with twisting, screaming faces, their mouths opening wider and wider until black liquid poured out, spilling across the floor like tar. And in that reflection of oily black, I saw the creature behind me, crawling closer, its limbs bending in ways no body should bend. I realized then, this wasn't just a mine. It was something else, a place carved out to hold it, a prison. And I had broken the seal. I should have died there. Any sane person would have. The black liquid spread across the floor, swallowing the tunnel in its reflection. I could see the creature's body in it, clearer than in the weak light of my flashlight. Its hunched form, its jagged grin, its spider limbs twitching in rhythm like a predator savoring the hunt. I tried to run again, slipping on the tar-like substance, my hands burning as I pressed against the walls. The whispers grew louder, no longer distant, but screaming inside my skull. Stay, stay, stay. The faces on the wall turned toward me, their mouths stretching wider, skin tearing as black ichor dripped out. And then one of them spoke. A woman's voice, broken, raw. You freed him. Now you must take our place. I felt the floor crack beneath my feet. A tremor ran through the mine, dust falling in thick clouds from the ceiling. My flashlight flickered out completely, and in the dark, all I had were the sounds, the clicking of its legs, the wet drip of tar, the endless chorus of voices. Something touched my shoulder, cold, sharp. I swung wildly with the flashlight, but it wasn't the creature. It was a hand, a human hand, half buried in the wall, reaching for me. The fingers wrapped around my wrist with unnatural strength, pulling me toward the stone. No, I screamed, yanking back, but more hands began to emerge, dozens, then hundreds, clawing from the walls, grabbing at my clothes, my legs, my throat. I could feel them pulling, dragging me into the rock, my body sinking into the warm, fleshy surface that pulsed like skin. And then the creature spoke again. One leaves, one stays. Its voice wasn't just sound, it was inside me, vibrating through my bones, twisting my thoughts. I understood what it wanted. The prison required balance. A soul for a soul. Those faces on the walls, they weren't carvings, they were people. Others who had stumbled into this place, others who had broken the seal. And now it was my turn. I fought. God, I fought harder than I ever have in my life. My nails tore as I clawed at the stone, blood mixing with tar, but the hands dragged me deeper. My chest sank into the wall, ribs pressing against warm stone as if I was being swallowed alive. I couldn't breathe. My screams echoed with theirs. One more voice added to the endless chorus. Then, silence. The hands let go. The wall released me. I collapsed onto the cold stone floor, gasping, covered in black sludge. For a second, I thought it was over, that somehow I'd been spared. But when I lifted my head, the tunnel was gone. I was standing in a vast cavern, one that couldn't exist beneath the earth. The ceiling was endless darkness, the walls slick and alive with writhing veins of molten light. And at the center, perched on a mound of bones and bodies, was the creature. Its spider limbs spread wide, its glowing eyes locked onto me. It crawled closer, its movements impossibly fast, stopping just inches from my face. I could feel the heat radiating off its cracked skin, smell the rot in its breath. It leaned in, its jagged teeth brushing against my ear, and whispered, "You're mine now." I screamed. I don't remember anything after that. When I woke, I was outside the mine, lying in the wet leaves. The entrance had collapsed, sealed with rock and dirt. My friends found me hours later, trembling, covered in cuts and burns I couldn't explain. They asked me what happened, but I couldn't tell them. How could I? They wouldn't believe me, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part is what happened when I went home. That night, as I lay in bed, I heard it again, the clicking sound. Click, click, drag. It wasn't outside. It was in the walls, in the ceiling above me, in the dark corner of my room. And when I looked in the mirror, I saw something move that wasn't me. The cracks are spreading across my skin now. I can feel something burning inside me, something alive, something waiting to break free. I think I know what's happening. I didn't escape the prison. I didn't take their place on the wall. The creature put a piece of itself in me. And soon, I'll be the one crawling in the dark, waiting for someone foolish enough to break the seal again.